The Monster Hunter Wilds open beta took place from the 1st of November for a few days, running across all 3 platforms for Xbox, Steam PC, and PS5. It included the first story mission up against a Chatacabra, then a quest to take down an Alpha Doshaguma, before opening up the Windward Plains, giving you free reign to take on more quests as you wish, further adding the Balahara and Ray Dow to the roster. We also had full unrestricted access to all 14 of the weapons in the game. Whilst there may still be some further balancing to do, we can comfortably assume that these are the final iterations of these weapons. Having put time into all of them both in the training area and versus various monsters, mostly Chatacabra for testing, I've got a pretty comprehensive grasp of all of them, so I'm going to provide a full breakdown of the Switch Axe suitable for both new and returning players. If you're more so after a full breakdown of the new combos and moves, attached with an arbitrary ranking based on my preferences for them, you can check out the tier list video I've already done. And very quickly, we're currently sitting at around 80% unsubscribed viewers on the channel, with the majority of you returning from shorts or otherwise. If you enjoy the videos, do subscribe, and with that said, let's jump in. The Switch Axe is one of the 14 returning weapons to Monster Hunter Wilds, one that can transform between 2 states, a giant 2-handed axe and a giant 2-handed sword. The general combat loop and flow of the weapon is to build up energy and charge in axe mode, to then unleash devastating more powerful attacks in sword mode, consuming the charge, creating a fun and satisfying back and forth between the 2 forms. Before jumping into the weapons combos and movesets, let's do a quick rundown of the UI. The yellow bar at the top, which starts off filled, is the switch gauge, the energy that is consumed when doing your sword strikes. The bottom left is the axe power-up indicator, which is either blank or glowing orange, signifying an increase in axe damage after the heavy slam attacks. And the bottom right is the amped gauge, filling up with each successful sword strike, then once full adds additional file effects to the hits. You can think of that as additional damage for the most part, and will give you access to some very powerful special attacks. Thanks for watching the Switch Axe guide, Godspeed. JK, that's just the rudimentary basics. Unsheathing the weapon with a regular attack input will put you directly into axe mode. You do start off with a full switch gauge, so if you want to go into sword form initially, that's totally fine and more efficient to do so, but we'll cover axe first. Your core 3 input axe combo begins with the overhead slash from a stationary input by pressing triangle or Y into the side slash, finishing with the fantastic spiral burst slash finisher, which delivers the most damage overall from the combo with the 2 hits combined, but most importantly regenerates the most switch gauge by far. When initiating the combo with a forward directional input, it'll begin with a forward slash instead, a quick jab forwards. This is going to be your bread and butter axe combo, and one that you're going to be using a lot to regenerate your switch gauge after you've finished up in sword form. While stationary, by repeatedly pressing circle or B, you're able to initiate the wild swing combo, which sees your hunter plant their feet in place, hacking away at the monster with satisfying big swings. This consumes stamina and can be repeated until your stamina is depleted. However, after 2 wild swing inputs, or more accurately after your first right swing, this can be the first input depending on your other combos beforehand, you're able to press triangle or Y to do the heavy slam attack, ending the wild swing with a very powerful finisher, not only dealing tons of damage but also powering up your axe and lighting up that bottom left gauge. Your powered up axe will deal more damage and restore more switch gauge with its attacks. You can also do the morph sweep by pressing R2 or right trigger out of the wild swing, a very powerful morphing attack taking you from axe form over to sword form whilst propelling you forwards. Axe form also has some excellent mobility attacks that you can do with the circle or B button, allowing the hunter to both strike and maneuver themselves in one go. Forward directional input and circle or B will see you do the forward overhead slash, a gap closer that covers a significant distance, while a backwards directional input and circle or B will do the fade slash, an inverse attacking maneuver sending the hunter backwards this time. The Switch Axe is one of the weapons with an offset attack. By pressing triangle and circle or Y and B, you can do the offset rising slash, which has a pretty generous window, so it can be quite easy to time this. When timed during a monster's advance, it will send them reeling backwards, parrying and repelling the monster, followed up by a gap closing chase down attack, which is extremely cool. That's your axe form covered. Let's hit R2 or right trigger to morph it into sword form. Executing any attacks in sword form, whether they land or not, will consume some switch gauge. Your standard triangle combo sees you do an overhead overhead slash into a right rising slash, finishing with a left rising slash. A quick and powerful 1-2-3 take an arrow to the knee, generating only a small amount of amped gauge buildup. The circle combo instead sees you do a double slash into the Heavenward Flurry. It's a slower attack with more wind up, however it builds way more amped gauge. Once filled, your sword is powered up, it deals more damage, and you replenish a small amount of switch gauge, allowing you to stay in sword form and execute more strikes just that little bit more. After the Heavenward Flurry attack, you can press R2, triangle, and circle, or right trigger Y and B, to do a new powerful attack, the Unbridled Slash, a very flashy and powerful exploding finisher, which when fully amped can be held down to do the full release slash instead, the full powered version. Element discharge returns by pressing triangle and circle, or Y and B. The attack initiates and you're able to rapidly press triangle or Y to continually do small ticks of damage until it finally explodes for a big finisher. This can be followed up with the Unbridled Slash or the full release slash if fully amped up, making for a really crunchy series of explosive finishers, just how your mother likes it. With a full amped gauge, you can hold down triangle and circle, or Y and B, to instead execute the zero sum discharge, which will see your hunter climb onto the monster's part, doing the ticks with repeated inputs until it explodes again for a massive finisher, dealing tremendous damage. Sadly, this can't be followed up with an unbridled or full release slash. Sword form actually has its own parry, the counter rising slash. Whilst not an offset attack, it's still a fantastic defensive maneuver, putting you into a parry stance, countering with a slash, which can then be followed up with a Heavenward Flurry directly. Be mindful that this is not a perfect guard and you will take significant chip damage. The focus strike against a wound allows you to do a series of axe swings like the Wild Swing, finishing with a heavy slam that also gives you the axe buff. You can also do this in sword mode or even morph in between, to instead do a series of slashes and an elemental discharge finisher, flashy and powerful whilst being really versatile as well. That's everything I want to go over with the Switch Axe for now. Whilst not completely exhaustive, this is a comprehensive overview of the weapon and will allow you to go and crack some skulls to get used to it. There are some additional morph attacks here and there with R2 or right trigger. You can experiment with those and see how they feel for you. I'm going to leave you with a full unedited fight up against a Chatacabra so you can see how the weapon performs in a natural environment during a hunt. Let me know if you tried the Switch Axe during the Wilds beta and if you're excited for it. I would love to hear from you. As mentioned at the start, the channel's currently sitting at around 80% unsubscribed viewers, with the majority of you returning from shorts or other guides. If you enjoy the videos, do subscribe, come and join our open sessions over on the Discord and the live streams on Twitch. I will leave these links for you in the description. Just mind the volume because it's about to go quite a bit louder. Thanks for watching, enjoy the hunt, and I'll see you in the Forbidden Lands.
Another monster's horning in!